Welcome to another episode of the Finding Serenity in the Midst of Chaos podcast. Today, we are going to answer the question, how can I ever feel good enough? This episode is for you if you're the kind of person who constantly focuses on next achievement, next job title, and never celebrate or acknowledge your last achievement, or always want to talk about your accomplishments rather than yourself as a person. So stay tuned. Hello, Ian.
Hello, Chulai.
How are you doing?
Hello, I'm all right, thanks.
Yeah.
Right, can we move on to the next thing now, please?
You look like you were stunned there for a minute.
Stunned, yes,
Stunned,
yes.
yeah. So today is another good topic. I think last week we were starting to talk about we're looking for outside approval and whatever, and we will talk about
Yeah.
that next week. But today,
Okay,
I wanted
yes.
to really take a step back from that, because looking for external validation, external
Yeah.
approval
Yeah,
is
approval and
caused by
permission
something
sort of
else.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
permission is caused by something else. And first, let's tackle that. And the next week, we'll talk about the permission situation. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And this is obviously following on from, things we've talked about before.
Yeah.
But it's, again, we do, it's not it is repetition, but it just shows how everything is intertwined, really,
The thing
doesn't
is,
it? And one thing
yeah,
leads to another. And I think, what you've
yeah,
just said, we're gonna see that again
yeah.
over the next 2 weeks. Yeah.
The deeper we dig, the more kind of worms, as it were, we open up. And that's why it's good to revisit and open up more
You're
to really
right.
understand, because this is a whole thing about self-awareness journey. Once you peel one layer, the more layers start to come up,
Yeah.
and the deeper we get into, the better we understand. So how can I ever feel good enough in what I do, in myself, in life? First of all, how do you know you're not feeling good enough? What are the symptoms? What are the external symptoms of not feeling good enough in yourself? Well, as I said at the beginning, if you're chasing constantly, what can I do next? What is my next job title going to be? How can I get that next promotion?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that, if you're an ambitious woman, as you are my ideal clients and ideal people that I work with, doesn't mean that you don't need to strive for achievements. But if that becomes an overriding theme in your life, or a pattern in your life, that means that you are almost trying to avoid or cover up something that is uncomfortable for you, and you're constantly compensating for getting that achievement. And how do I know this, Ian? Because that's what I've done most of my life. And
Okay.
and this is one of my patterns, one of my comfortable things. When I feel uncomfortable, I go back onto learning more, doing more, achieving
All
more,
right.
because that's where I feel comfortable, because that's what I'm good at, that's where I learn most, and that's what I feel that I get the appreciation and approval, validation more from the outside, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's why it's important to notice if you're going from one title to another and not really celebrating what you've just achieved. That's one of the reasons why you're not you're doing that, because you're not feeling good enough as you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And again, it's your experience. We talked about this. Was it? I can't remember. I think it was a couple of weeks ago now. The time just eludes me a little bit. We put me on the spot and, talked a bit about, what I've learned working with you and all this sort of thing. Yeah, it does make sense, because a couple of those themes came up with me as well, just in. And again, we're going to focus on this more next week, on the permission thing and the proof. But it is, as you quite rightly said at the start, linked with the idea. And yeah, I mean, the celebrating thing just accord with me there.
Yeah.
We don't celebrate. Yeah, we don't celebrate enough. I mean, my son's just at the time of this recording, going through his A levels. He's a third of the way through now. In about 3 weeks' time from the time we're recording, then he's going to be finished, and we must celebrate. We're not going to wait for the result. We're just going to
No.
celebrate the end and the achievement of him actually going through that process and getting to the end of it to make it something. So because, you know, it'd be so easy in this example of what we're talking about today to say, well, we just got to get to the results now. You know, we're just going to wait for the results. You know, we're not going to do anything until we get the results, because that's what it's all about. And yes, it is. But, you know, we need to celebrate the steps as well, I think.
Yes.
So, yeah,
And
that's just something that came to my mind listening to your.
That's perfect. And that's a great example. And that's a great way to go on to the next part of this, celebrating achievement versus celebrating yourself and celebrating the whole. What are we really celebrating? Celebrating the fact that you achieved the top result, celebrating the fact that you finished that part of the process, celebrating, you know, I think most people celebrate the results.
That's
but not
right.
really
That's right. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. If at
not
all, you know, you might not
if
even
at all.
celebrate that,
That's
to be
right.
honest. It's so easy. This is what we're talking about. You know, moving on. You know, gotta go. Not taking in what's around you, you know, literally or mentally or psychologically. Yeah.
But it's celebrating the fact that your son has gone through the process of having to study,
The pain,
and having to discipline himself day in, day
Yes.
out, not just physically, mentally, all fully, as his whole self, dedicated his life and time and effort into going through that process.
Yeah.
That's a big celebration in itself, because a year ago he was still sitting, I don't know what to do with myself, I don't know what to do next. Whatever. So that's big in itself. And, you know, outcome is irrelevant in a way, because whatever the outcome is going to come, and he's going to deal with that at that time.
That's right. Yeah.
Celebration of his own perseverance and his own you know, going the journey and the process, basically, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
that's right.
we always ask, you know, is it about the journey, is it about the destination? It is about the journey more. And it's about who you become in the journey, and we never celebrate who we become and the steps we put forward in the journey, because most of the time it's who we are showing up as every single day is the reason why we get the results, or we get the lessons that we learn.
Yes. Yeah.
But in the process, we don't celebrate that, and we don't acknowledge that. It doesn't have to be all singing and dancing, party, whatever.
Yeah, sure. It's just something to mark it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Acknowledge and mark it, to bring it to say this. It's almost saying this actually matters.
Yes.
This is actually important.
This is,
you know, like you say, I've had however many hundreds of days just going and doing the mundanes, doing what I need to do. What's to celebrate about that, you know? But it is, isn't it? It's the fact that you've stuck through it and got there and completed the journey almost. You know, if you need a little bit of something to sort of hang on to there, you know, I've completed it. Let's celebrate it.
So coming back to the question, if you're wondering, how can I ever feel good enough?
Yes.
Well, first of all, it's a decision. You gotta decide that you're gonna feel good enough in what you do.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, because I would have said, you know, there's external factors, then you can't do anything about it. But that's not you, is it, True Life? You can always do something about it.
There is always external factors to everything. Whether you decide to let them affect you or not is going to determine the outcome. So, and I was in fact about to come to that. The external factors are just there, no matter what you do. But it doesn't have to affect how you feel on the inside. And it's because of those external factors, it's because of those comparisons, it's because of those societal norms that you are trying to comply to, you're not feeling good enough. So am I a good enough mother? Well, according to who? Compared to what mother? You know, we always compare ourselves to a neighbor, and who doesn't perhaps who doesn't go to work 9 to 5 just like you do, and then she has all the time in the world with her kids to do whatever, and you compare yourself, I'm not spending my holidays with my kids, or I'm not spending time at half terms or whatever, and then you start to feel bad and feel guilty,
Yeah.
and as a result, oh, I'm not a good enough mother. That's just a conclusion that you just made, which is not even true, but you're comparing yourself. So it's always a comparison that causes, are you good enough, or are you not good enough, am I good
Okay.
enough? Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, that puts a bit of reality on, because I'm thinking decide a
Mm.
decision, not no, but yes, it is. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It is a decision because you're choosing to make a
Choosing.
comparison and come to a conclusion that
Mm.
isn't really right, actually.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
is this presentation perfect? Therefore, is it good enough? Well,
Mm.
perfect for who? Perfect
Mm.
doesn't exist. Perfect is an illusion anyway. Everybody's idea of what good looks like is
Yeah.
different, or what perfect looks like is different. So
Yeah.
if here's a practical way you can feel good enough or not good enough in every situation, you can do this for yourself, is to decide what good enough looks like. What does good look like for you? You know, that's one of those cliches we used to.
This is why I'm smiling. People say, what's he smirking at?" Yeah, this is years of working in industry. Tell me, what does good look like to you? Yeah.
But it is a great way to measure. If you're going to measure and compare some things, decide what that good looks will look like for you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, therefore, you know, I will be good. I will be good if I can spend 10 minutes a day fully present with my child or whatever. I'm just making up examples here.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. But that's good.
if I
Yeah.
can spend 10 minutes out at lunchtime walking for myself, that's good. That then I feel good in myself, and then I don't have to compare
Mm.
myself to others.
Yeah.
And whatever it might be. And if you hand in that presentation on time, within all the, within your own capabilities, doesn't
Yeah.
matter whether your boss likes it or not, because your boss's opinion will change based on his or her boss's opinion anyway. So
Yes.
it has nothing to do with you as a person, as a good enoughness or nothing, I remember I had one presentation I had to change 5 6 times, and every time I would present the later version, they would come and say something, and in the end I just said, I'm done with this. This
Yeah.
is my presentation. I'm going to do it as I like it.
Yeah.
We've already covered how it needs to be, what it needs to cover, but everything else I'm doing it. I'm just done changing it now. I
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
came and said that, and it was like, fine. But
Yeah.
this is why it's a decision. You just need to decide how it needs to be good enough for you,
Mm.
and everything else, everyone else can just do what they please, if you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and it's been quite hard with yourself saying, this is how it's going to be,
Mm,
really. Just going back, I like the examples you give. You say you're just making up examples, 10 minutes for the
mm,
kids, whatever, but it's actually, it can be just something small that's achievable, can't
yeah,
it? 10
yeah.
minutes walk at lunchtime instead of sitting on your phone for 10 minutes or reading the paper or whatever.
Mm,
Get out there, get some fresh air and move for 10 minutes. And if you've done it, that's it. You've kind of not just ticked the box, but you've bought into your own decision about what good is.
mm.
You
And
know, we
then
laugh
also,
about it as a cliche, absolutely, but there is merit in
there
just
is.
these little things that for you make it
Mm.
good. Not what somebody else has said, isn't it? It's what you decide, your
And then,
decision, I think.
yeah, and
Yeah.
just because somebody else says it's not good, that's because it didn't fit into their expectations and their
Sure.
definition of what good was. And if they hadn't
Mm.
communicated that to you, it's on them, not on you. So it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you're not a good person. It just means that they haven't communicated it enough, or there was a breakdown in something, but it means nothing
Yeah.
about you as a person or
That
whatever.
that's
And that's
right.
what
Yeah.
we do. We tend to take that on upon ourselves. Oh my God. It's like a catastrophizing everything in our brain to say, well, you didn't do this presentation in time, or you didn't do this slide correctly, therefore you are bad. And that's, it's
Mm.
not the end of the world. It's just in that time, there's
Yes.
something that wasn't fitting the brief, as it were. but it doesn't mean that you're not good enough as a person.
Mm.
But we do this externally because we've learned from an early age to look outside of ourselves for all those answers. And if the answers coming from outside doesn't fit with what we expect and what we want to hear, and that's why we start to feel bad in ourselves, and then not feeling good enough becomes a pattern of expecting something from the outside and not getting it, and therefore feeling bad as a result. So that's the whole circle of things. But so how will I feel good enough? First of all, decide that you're going to feel good no matter what. Decide. A feeling is something that comes from our thoughts, as we said before.
Yes. Yeah.
Think about things that you're going to feel good about. And sometimes you can't help what thought comes into your head, but you can help which ones to focus on and which ones to grow in your mind, right? So we know that. And the second thing is to stop asking externally to feel good. And that's what we're going to talk about next week.
Okay, great.
And look within you. How am I going to feel good today? And how, if you feel good, you're already going to feel good enough. That's the whole purpose of this thoughts, feelings, actions kind of model.
And it's asking yourself, isn't it? That's what you just said. Asking yourself, not somebody else.
Yes. And if you are in control of that, no one else can come and spoil it for you. How will I feel good enough if I've done my 10-minute walk, if I've spent some time with my kids, if I just, I don't know, cooked a nice whole meal for everybody, and we sat down together as a family together, then I feel good as a result. And if I've done all of that, I know I'm good. And if I haven't done all of that, at least I had the intention to. Something else may have come up, but that's okay. That still doesn't mean you're not good enough. So don't make this another way to beat yourself up about it as well if you haven't done it. And that's the whole framework. But that's the kind of habit that we need to get into. If it comes from you first, then you do your best to achieve that and celebrate every step. Don't then just go beating yourself up if you haven't achieved one of the steps or three.
Sure. And the key is it doesn't say anything about you, or as people tend to say these days, it doesn't define. I'm sure somebody said that to me in the supermarket the other day. I was just having trouble scanning something and I said, oh, there you go, I got it right. I'm sure she said it's all right, it doesn't define you at the moment, or something like that. She's obviously been reading a book about self-help or something. I just thought, oh, okay, thank you. Thanks for your encouragement type thing. But our default is to think something goes wrong that's sort of outside ourselves, and it means that we're a load of rubbish. That's the kind of summary,
it's
isn't
become
it?
An identity thing, isn't it? Because we identify our beings as our jobs,
well, that's right.
Who are you? I'm a scientist. I'm this. You're not that. You are just that's your job.
That's right.
But because we do it so long, and we do it in majority of the day, that becomes who we are. And is stripping away and decoupling us as a person from what we do for living or to help people. So and you should have said, Ian, to that person, oh, did you know we do a podcast on self-improvement? Why don't you listen to it?
Okay, I missed my lines there. All right.
Next time.
Next time.
Well, on that note, we would love it if you could subscribe to our podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel to never miss another episode like this. And we will see you in the next episode.